Good morning. My name is Kutazo Mampier and welcome to Daily Updates. So today we have invited a few guests right here on our show for you guys so that we can get to discuss a few problems that we face on a daily basis right here in our communities. And one of those problems is substance abuse. So ladies and gentlemen, people at home, I'd like you to please join us right after the break so that we can get to start our discussion.
Because this is a Nando's ad, you're probably expecting things to get fired up. That there'll be a joke about Eskom or the Gupta leaks. You're thinking it can't just be two everyday South Africans each enjoying a delicious hot pot with kasa pap. There must be more to it. You're right. They've also got starter livers and a roll, all for just $49.90.
Dude, we need to talk about the land.
Welcome back to Daily Updates. Like I said before we went to the break, we have invited a few guests right here in our show. Let's welcome them. Let's welcome Muluko, Clyde, and Bunginkos. Welcome, guys. So we know that substance abuse is it's problematic to our youngsters, to the people, to the young generation coming after us, right? Yeah. So, I'd like us to talk about the substance abuse. We have a user, we have former, and we have our expert who are going to be sharing with us their knowledge, who are going to be sharing with us their experiences, and so forth. So before we go any further, I'd like to start by asking Clyde a few questions here. Clyde.
Hello.
Are we good?
Yes, we are.
Welcome to Daily Updates.
I am very pleased to be here.
So, Clyde, we would like to know what drove you to being a substance abuser.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm a substance abuser, but I am a user.
Okay.
I'm fully aware of that. And these things aren't usually driven. To others, yes, but not everybody. To me, it was more of like a choice. I felt like to cope and to go on with my daily basis, I had to at least get some kind of alternative feeling, if I could put it that way.
So you don't abuse.
I don't.
You use it.
Yes.
How often do you use it?
Well, that usually depends on the feeling of the day, the pressure I have during that day.
So we're talking about you using it about 2 times a day, more than 2 times, or?
Well, let's just say it's constant.
Okay.
Yes.
I have another question. Do people's negative comments about substance abusers, not that you're substance abusers, you've already stated that you're not an abuser but a user, do their negative comment affect you negatively, or they just affect you positively?
Well, personally, yes, words, they do hurt. It's very tough, just accepting what people say about you.
True.
But in most cases, just like everything else in the world, it's all talk. You know what I mean?
Right, so you don't actually care about what your neighbor says about you as long as you know who you are and what you're doing, right?
Yes, I don't really
care. I like that.
But it is what it is.
Okay, one last question. What kind of emotions do you express, do you experience if you haven't smoked or?
Well, honestly, that is a very tricky question, because most of the time, the whole reason to smoke is to forget about that sober feeling, just to feel somewhat intoxicated, on another kind of level that
what level is
different
that?
From everybody else.
What level?
It's an elevated level, as they say, we are on cloud 9 when we smoke, so you could say it's a nonchalant feeling where everything just moves smoothly, we go with the wind.
Okay, wow, okay. Thank you. So, coming right to Moluko, a former substance abuser. Are we good?
Yes, I'm good. And how are you?
I'm okay. So since you know that this substance abuse issue is going out of control, right? And you were a substance abuser yourself. So how do other substance abusers who know that you were a substance abuser react around you?
Okay, it's very tough in our communities, That's why a lot of boys are still on drugs, because when you feel like you want to quit, they start judging you and they make you feel as if you're being pointless and that you're being stupid when you want to quit. So I think boys out there that see me, some I talk to them, I tell them that drugs are not good, that this can happen and that and that. It's like I started a campaign where I do slides of videos, I show the boys how substance users behave and what it leads to. So I have a few boys that have stopped drugs like myself, but I think it's really hard,
How do you survive the people's judgment?
I've learned something, I learned to discipline myself.
Okay.
And I put myself away from other people and I looked at what's right for my health. And when I used to smoke, like Clyde said, it's a level of elevation. You're not sober. So, you tend to, it's like you're escaping the world. So it's not good for the mind, because you start thinking things that are not normal as you're intoxicated at that moment. So it's very hard because people get used to that feeling, Just like he says, he smokes constantly.
Okay.
Yeah.
How difficult was it for you to maintain being clean for so long?
It has really been very, very hard. Because when I started quitting, I never had habits. When you smoke, it becomes your habit. You just go smoke, you relax, you sleep. Then you wake up, you smoke. So when I stopped smoking, when it was time for me to go and smoke like I usually did, I became bored. So I started to go into sports. I started playing soccer. I bought myself some soccer boots.
That's
started playing
amazing.
soccer, yeah. So I kept being busy. When I come back from a soccer match, I'm tired. I just shower and sleep. So I got new hobbies. So that's
Until you started a campaign.
Yeah, and started a campaign, and so that I could save lives in the township.
So what steps did you take to quit, to recover from?
Okay, the steps I took were like, firstly, I knew at what time I used to smoke. I know that during the day, if I'm not busy, I get bored, then I go and buy weed and smoke, substances like that. So I make sure that during the day, I'm busy and that I focus and I avoid having cash on me, I always make sure that I prefer using a card as it's much safer. Because when you have cash, you get tempted, you think to buy and stuff like that. So that's how it started. It was very hard from the start, really. I never saw myself quitting, to be quite honest. So it was pretty hard. So the steps, it comes with yourself, knowing what you want. So it's very hard in a world like this where many people are fake and they look up to other people, want to be other people. It's hard to be yourself, Yeah.
Thank you. We have a head from Clyde and Moluko. So right now we are going to ask a few questions to our expert, Mr. Bonginkos.
Thanks for the invite.
You're welcome. So how do you prevent substance abuse?
For people to prevent substance abuse is very difficult because you need to consider that many people get into substances due to friends, peer pressure, or either being forced by parents to prove certain points in future. So many people, for my advice to them, I may say that they should focus in doing sports, focus in doing community activities, and make sure that whenever they feel like going into substance abuses, they should try to find something interesting for either their peers or along with a community as a whole. They can make sure that they take part in activities which educate them both either from schools or community halls and other things.
Okay. When would you say it is the right time for a substance abuser to seek for help, medical help?
Yeah, that one is very difficult because you have to know that many people, they don't usually be in substance abuses it takes a lot of time for them to be able to be seen. But my view is that whenever a person is under the influence of drug, they should seek help immediately whenever they see that things are getting out of control. Like Clyde have said that he is a user, but then he does not he's not an abuser. So for people, it takes time for a person to realize that they are an abuser. So my advice to them is that they should maybe try to have activities rather than being under the influence of drugs.
Okay, this last question is for the people at home. So, for parents, right? They have kids, and you find that the child just starts behaving wildly, and they do not know what is happening or what is wrong with their child, but they just see the child doing weird stuff. So, what would you say are the signs that shows that this child is under substance abuse as a parent?
The signs will start by, for example, you'll see that the child will no longer be doing irregular things they used to do. For example, they will no longer take part in sports, they will no longer do their homework, some will be lacking in their grades. Those things, they can help a parent in order to realize that their child is heading to a wrong direction. And I will advise each and every parent to make sure that they maintain a communication between their children, so that can help for them to realize if there's anything wrong happening. And for a parent to be able to say, my child is under the influence of substances nowadays, I think they should just try to speak to some people who are experts who can help. For example, we have social workers who can talk to their kids and influence them into heading to the right direction rather than being under the influence of substances, which are wrong for their career, because many of them, they don't have life. For example, Muluk has already stated that it was very difficult for him to take part in things like building a thing which can help the community. But then since he has quitted, he is able to run programs where he can teach the youth about things they should focus on, which I think it's a good idea coming from him, and he should also influence other communities to take part in such activities.
Thank you. That was it from our expert. Right after the break, please join us. We are going to be interviewing people outside to get their views and what they think about substance abuse.
So they tried to silence us, but this is actually what they're afraid of. Itie, Aisafan. We are growing, we are strong, we can win. Millions of South Africans are uniting behind a party that can bring change. Change that cuts corruption. Change that guarantees free higher education for qualifying matrics. Change that can create 1 million internships. Millions of South Africans are voting for change that will create 6 million real permanent jobs. You can't have a better life without a job.
Nkosi sikeleli Africa. Let us live and strive for freedom in South Africa, our land. Change is coming. Amandla!
Welcome back. So like I said before we went to our ad break, we are going to go outside to check out and hear what other people think about substance abuse. Good afternoon. Welcome to Daily Updates. My name is Kutazo Mampieri and we're here at Pretoria Chitsque. Today we are going to be having a discussion about substance abuses, and so we decided to come here to interview a few individuals about their views on substance abuse. I'm with Mpeleche here and I'm just going to ask her one question about substance abuses. So Mpeleche, how do you feel being around substance abusers?
I don't feel safe because when somebody's under influence of a drug or alcohol or whatsoever, they just misbehave, they do whatever they think, and they just don't think of consequences and so on. So I just don't feel safe around those people. Thank you.
That was it from her. You had for yourselves. Thank you. We've also have David from Pretoria. We're also going to ask him just one question as well. So David, have you ever found yourself in an uncomfortable experience with substance abusers?
For my side, I guess I'm making under substance abuse, but I mo community ya so most of time but ba abuse wa ka ntho tse ngata.
Okay. That was it from David. Thank you. We have Mr. Elvis here, and I'd also like to ask him a question. So Mr. Elvis, have you ever had a bad experience with substance abusers?
Yes, at some point I was staying in a place where it was surrounded by people who were rehabilitating from substance abuse. So those syndromes of withdrawal, we were staying in the same environment, so they've got a tendency of not sleeping properly, and most of them, they like fighting. So it happened that I was one of the leaders in the place who was controlling the people. So when they start fighting, they would fight every day. And some of them, they would be indisciplined such that you tell them to abide to certain rules. They decide not to. Like maybe if they are needed to come, maybe not after 6 p.m. They go out, they drink more. When they come back, 1, they are drunk, 2, they are fighting, 3, they are late. So to address that, so when you are dealing with such people, one thing that you need to know is you always have sleepless nights, and you always have a continuous working timetable. You don't have a time to rest. And most of them, they are violent. So when you meet them, you have to be cautious. When you deal with them, you have to be cautious. So it wasn't an interesting experience with those people.
Thank you. We've had it from Mr. Elvis.
That's it for our show today. Thank you for watching. Now you can leave your comments on our Facebook page, Twitter and Instagram. And as for Muluka's campaign, you can get all the details on our Facebook page as well. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining us today once more.
It's a pleasure.
Bye. We're out.